What cheer, y'all? And incidentally, I've had some people have asked what am I saying when I start these posts, and what cheer is a Rhode Island salutation. It's basically like in New York how they say "How you doing?" So it's kind of our Rhode Island way to say hello. It's really old. It goes way back. It's not like everybody uses it all the time, but it's kitschy and I like it. So anyway, what cheer, y'all? We're going to continue on with our contender profiles and let's talk about the foreign shippers. And we're going to start with Luxor Cafe, who's garnered a bit of attention. You see he's by American Pharaoh, Mary's Follies underneath. We'll talk about the pedigree in a second. Owned by Koichi Nishikawa, who I believe, I'm not mistaken, is one of the owners who's been pretty prominent on the Japanese scene. And Hori Noriyuki, I know, has been a very good trainer in Japan. Don't know who the jockey is necessarily yet, so we'll just have to see about that. And you see, Luxor Cafe has had quite a bit of success this year. 6 wins, or 6 races, 4 wins, 1 place. And he's got a couple of wins in the Fukurio Stakes, which got him into the Derby, and the Hyacinth as well. We're going to take a look at both of those, incidentally, as sort of a way to get a better feel for Luxor Cafe. Obviously, the past performances aren't going to show us a whole lot, so we'll be on the lookout for that. We'll do that in a second. Take a look at the pedigrees by American Pharaoh, and right there is pretty good stamina. But Mary's Folly's the dam, the black type winner in her own right. She has sired quite a few black type horses, most notably Cafe Pharaoh, who finished third in the Saudi Cup, and Regal Glory. Those of us might remember from the turf for Chad Brown, who was an excellent filly, excellent mare. Around 2 turns. So I don't think stamina is going to be a problem at all. We've mentioned, don't worry about that dosage index because it's not as accurate. We've belabored that point. Won't continue with it. In my prior posts, if you want to know what I'm talking about, go back and take a look at those. The genetic strength value score is pretty good. Again, not a completely accurate number, but you can't compare it to the others, and it stacks up about right in the middle, I'd say, maybe towards the top end. You look at the conduit mare profile, you get solid and professional influences. The pedigree is skewed towards stamina, good thing. And then you look at the triads and you see that last one. So there's plenty of stamina in here. I don't think a mile and a quarter is going to be an issue, so we're not going to worry about that. We'll look at the past performances, and obviously we're not going to be able to tell a whole lot here. But I will say that it is encouraging to note that Luxor Cafe has carried the Derby distance of 126 and won a couple of races, and carried 128 in the Fukurio. So this is a horse who, internationally, usually when you see more weight, it's a good thing. Not so much in Japan. I think they all carry it. But nonetheless, he's carried the Derby distance. He's raced in big fields. So those are two positives. The times, well, we don't really know, do we? I mean, I do know by watching, one thing that's encouraging, you watch those Japanese races, and there's a lot of kickback on those dirt tracks. So he can handle it. So that's a positive. I've heard Randy Moss, Mr. Beyer, who's talked about how Luxor Cafe stacks up. And since he didn't go to the UAE Derby and didn't really run against Americans, it is kind of hard to compare him to others. But what you can't, he seems to think that his races have come out somewhere in the mid 90s, which would put him, maybe a cut below the best. But watching his races, I think you'll see he's got the right running style for the Derby, particularly this year with the pace that's slated for it. And if he takes another step forward, who knows? He could very well be a horse we want to think about when we're betting. I don't know what kind of price we're going to get, but just something to think about. So we're going to start. We're going to take a look at the Hyacinth Stakes, which is at a mile, and that is the prelude to the Fukurio. And one thing of note in it is that Admire Daytona, who's also in the Derby field coming over from Japan, was in that race as well. I'll warn you in advance, it is not easy the way they run the camera in the Japanese races to follow them necessarily. Hopefully someday they'll change that, but we're going to look at that, and then we'll look at the Fukuria. So let's take a look at the Hyacinth Stakes. Okay, so here's the Hyacinth Stakes, and you can see they've already just broken, and you can kind of see Luxor Cafe towards the outside. He is in the gold and black with a pink cap. And
they're off and racing, squeezed out at Maya Daytona. And
see, he broke pretty well out of the pack, but chooses to take back. I believe he's number 9.
Figo, Cora
right about the middle there,
with Don in the mood.
5th.
Luxor Cafe slots into 5th position. Wider out is Taisei Dorado, then back to Happy Man the Fence. And
you see the kickback is quite a bit of
is Dragon, and Promised Gene that blew the starters at the tail of the field. So a small field, missing the kick, not an advantage at all for that Promised Gene runner.
Luxor Cafe with a low rank.
Leads out from down on Figo. Pulling and reefing is Accorda Azel. Slotting in next along the rail is Taisei Dorado. Then comes followed by Don in the Mood. The favourite Luxor Cafe out there
leader
the
loping along there, so
travelling okay. Then Happy Man, Admire Daytona, Dragon is second last, and Promised Gene at the tail of the field. They're not going overly quick, so it will be a bit of a sit and sprint as Video leads them up. Down on Figo in second. Accorda Azel, Don in the Mood makes a line of 4. This will set up beautifully for the favourite in behind them, Luxor Cafe. And looking for an out in behind him is Taisei Dorado. So the big striding Luxor Cafe given his head by Rachel King down the middle of the track and starts to lengthen. Starting to run on Admire Daytona, and from the back of the field, the one that blew the kick, Promised Gene is coming on strong, but Luxor Cafe full of running, going to be hard to knock off. Promised Gene's going to make it very interesting. Luxor Cafe stretching. Has he got enough? Yes, he has. Luxor Cafe takes it out, Promised Gene.
So now we're going to take a look at the Fukuria Stakes, and this is different, a little different. You got Luxor Cafe out there in the 11 hole, so to the extreme outside. You see he gets away pretty well. It's different because this is a right turn. そして5番コスモコンフェルマこれら先行 Kind of a weird configuration for the track there if you look to the bottom left. But he's moving along pretty easily. ゴールデンクラウド並んでいってスタンド前から1コーナー2馬身ぐらい後ろ2番ルバン・ユニベール9番ベルベルコンパスその後7番シュラザックが続いていきましたイムホテプは後ろから2頭目名将随分最高峰馬群が2コーナーにかかります4番のイサナ逃げましたリードを体半分追って外5番コスモコンフェルマ2番手2コーナーから向こう上面です。1馬身ました10番コシデルが3番手インの4番手3番オタマジャクシです。この後1番ゴールデンクラウドこの外に11番ルクソールカフェ並んでいきます。先頭までは5馬身ぐらいです。1馬身半差中段にかけて2番ルバンユニベール外に9番ベルベルコンパスが並んでいきます。800を切って 1000m1 分3秒1で通過しました。あと後方3頭6番イムホテプこのインコースに7番シュラザック後方に3頭目1番後ろ8番名将随分となっています。3-4コーナーの中間4番のイサナが逃げていますが差が詰まって5番コスモコンフェルマ10番コシデリスーッと11番ルクソールカフェ I consider that to be a good sign that he's moving, early before the turn. He's already into full stride and pretty much just inhales his field.
200を切りました。2番手一気に広がってイムホテプ内からは1番ゴールデンクラウド外から名将随分追い込んでいます。
So you couple that with the Hyacinth, this may be a horse who's coming into his own. Pretty much geared down, really solid win.
2着は8番名将随分
So now we've seen the races. Let's just see if we can get a feel, positive, negative wise, on Luxor Cafe. I think he's got the right running style. I like the fact that he's a mid-pack runner. That should situate him in a good place. The Derby, who knows, post-wise, whatnot. We really don't know. But if he has the similar kind of trip that Derma Sotogaki had a couple of years ago, maybe he can get a little more forwardly engaged, a little quicker. He's got a chance to do some damage. he's got a winning record. He's got a lot of class. I mean, you can't overlook a horse who's been as good as he has. And then we'll throw in the Japanese Derby history. Now, what I mean by that is not necessarily what Forever Young did last year, because we don't really know if he's in that kind of league. We just don't know. But if you go back over the last couple of years, the Japanese have had runners who, forget about the pace setters, Crown Pride or Summers Tomorrow, but they've had horses like, say, Master Defender. And he was one I threw in my mix, and he finished sixth. And because he had the look of a horse who could run all day. And when you're looking at the Derby, that's what you want. You want to find those horses who are just going to keep running. And I think Luxor Cafe, if nothing else, he may not be fast enough to win the Derby, but he's got the right running style and he's got the pedigree to say he's going to keep going. So this is a horse you want to think about. I also like the fact that you look at the Hyacinth at a mile, one turn, where he did win. I thought, he wasn't going to lose the race, I don't think. But he, you had a horse coming from the clouds to try to run him down. But fast forward to the two-turn race at a mile and an eighth, and he just blew that field away. So this is a horse who probably relishes two turns, would be my impression. So all that is positive, I would say. Now, what are the negatives? We just don't know if he can run with American horses. We just don't know. But he does look like a horse with quality, to say the least. And but it is just something we have to consider. And again, if you take Randy Moss's impression of he's somewhere in the mid-90s, and you look at that running time of 1:52 and 1 for a mile and an eighth, pretty slow. But it's all in comparison, right? I mean, it probably does. The Japanese track probably doesn't compare as favorably with the American one, so maybe it should be a little slower. I'm not overly certain on that. But really, the bottom line is we just don't know how fast this horse really is in comparison to the Americans. It would be a big step up in class, I would say, regardless of what the Japanese are doing. So those are things that certainly we have to consider. Did we learn a lot from those races? Well, we know this horse has got quality. I think that there's no doubt about it. You can't win like that without having some quality. And he did what a good horse is supposed to do. He won convincingly against what was probably a fairly mediocre field. So all in all, to me, Luxor Cafe would probably be a horse. It would be price dependent for me. I don't want him too terribly short. But I think this is a horse you can certainly think about for spicing up the exotics without a doubt. And, stranger things have happened. If he can take a move forward, hey, he just might do it. You never know. But an interesting horse in the Derby field nonetheless. So that's Luxor Cafe. We're going to cover Admire Daytona. And I'm going to wait a little bit on Built. It seems like they're still 50-50 with him. And if he doesn't run, then it's Neo Equos. We'll probably end up doing both just to be on the safe side. And who knows, there may be other defections as we go along, so we'll have to cover Render Judgment as well. I don't think Baeza is going to make it. And I've heard some rumblings. You guys have been great with the comments and noting that this may be an owner's decision to tactically throw Built in there or Owen Almighty, so Baeza can't run. I'm not going to speculate too much on that, but it is certainly possible. So we're about finished with our Derby Contender profiles, and then we're going to get into our elements of handicapping for the Derby, form, class, speed, and pace. We'll probably be starting that later this week, so you'll be on the lookout for that, and we'll get our Oaks coverage going as well. So plenty of content on the way. If you do like these type of posts, please like and subscribe. Again, thanks so much to all of you who continue to grow our community. Comments have been really terrific. I know I keep saying that, but I really want you to know how much I appreciate it, and I think it's going to help all of us. I've heard some really positive, constructive insight, and some things I hadn't thought of, frankly. And so I think that helps all of us. So please keep it going. We're really becoming a really strong community, and I'm loving it. So again, thank you. So that's it from here. I'll talk to you soon, and until then, be well.